Folks, Billy Colburn here on the Courier-Record newspaper's YouTube channel. Many of you want to know what's going to happen today. When's it going to start? How bad will it be? I'm on the phone with speakerphone with Buddy Hyde, Nottoway Emergency Services Coordinator for the last almost 5 years, 4 years. Buddy, when did you start working for Nottoway County?
I started right around 22 as we started in. It was after the ice storm. I wasn't here for the winter storm. I was actually working in another locality at the time.
Let's start with weather first, and then how to handle things. When does the forecast show that snow is going to begin here in Nottoway County, roughly speaking?
So the snow is going to begin tonight. Still looking at that midnight time frame for the first parts of precipitation.
Okay.
Still looking at that around midnight, and then probably intensifying a little bit as the night goes on. Let me pull over real quick, and I've got a timeline here. Basically, snow and sleet tonight is what we're looking at. And I want to read the viewers. Let me read you the details. I've got this on my computer right here.
Okay.
Just a minute. I'm in beautiful Blackstone right now. We're checking out things here and coordinating some things and heading on back over to the western end of the county. Let's see what we.
And just to remind people that, if the snow is followed by sleet bounces. That may be an enemy on the roads, but that's not an enemy on your power line. Sleet.
Right. Sleet, I was just talking to Dan Martin, everyone. Dan, we're coordinating with all these resources that we have out here, Public Works and VDOT. And I've got a virtual call at 2:30 with all of the public safety, actually 2:45, with all the public safety agencies. And we're going to coordinate, how to get to everyone's home and how to handle these wrecks quickly and clear them up. And so, Dan's one of our key players with clearing out the streets in Blackstone. So we were talking about sleet. Sleet, obviously will bounce off of objects, and that's a good thing compared to the freezing rain. But let me read you the timeline. So basically increasing clouds the rest of the day. As you can see, we're looking like snow clouds already. They're gray. We're going to be getting that through the rest of daylight. Tonight, snow and sleet transitions to sleet overnight. We don't know the exact hour, but it'll start off as snow, no doubt. It'll start off as snow with a light mixture, and it's just going to be continuous. And this will be the time frame for most accumulation over our area. And I looked at a map this morning, and it looks like our total, once this is all done, is probably going to be around anywhere from 4 to 6 inches. They're saying 6 inches up around. 4 to 6 inches of total accumulation on the ground of the mixture of everything. So that's a lot better than what we had heard, early in the week with the 8 to 10.
Sure. But so 6 inches of sleet, freezing rain, snow followed by sleet, followed by freezing rain. When might we start to hear that horrible sound of glazing of trees and power lines, receiving the freezing rain and getting weighted down?
So that freezing rain, Billy, is a good question. You start hearing the pinging of the pellets. You'll hear a mixture all through the night. Snow will be quiet, but then as we're probably sleeping, you're going to have the pinging of the pellets towards the morning. We're still looking at 7 a.m. Sunday. We're looking at 7 a.m. Sunday for the snow to be totally switching over to that. I think we'll get a mixture through the night, but at the same time, I think to go to all sleet or ice and that mixture of the two. So the freezing rain Sunday or sleet, it's still a toggle, a question mark at the state level and at the federal level. But we hope sleet over freezing rain if we have to pick the two. Sunday night is where we'll transition over the dangerous freezing rain. If it stays on the forecast, will be towards the evening, and then it tapers off. And I think I had it tapering off around 5 o'clock Sunday. So I think we're looking at a total day of Sunday of precipitation in some form. I think that's what everybody needs to know is it's going to toggle back and forth the way I see it on Sunday.
Okay, but
no definite answer, but right now we're hoping to lean toward the sleet as the end product versus the freezing rain.
But you told me earlier off camera that, off cell phone, that the freezing rain precipitation accumulation, which was around a half inch to 3/4 of an inch 5 years ago during the February 2021 storm, may quote unquote only be 0.25 inches, which is still a lot, but far less serious than what was forecast 24 hours ago.
Correct. And let me read to the viewers really quick what we're looking at with those ice totals. So the heavy ice potential now, as of this morning, as of 9 a.m., they're now predicting our whole area, which would be the Nottoway, Mecklenburg, Lunenburg, Brunswick, at 55% chance to get half an inch. So it's a 55% chance for a half an inch. The better news is we only have a 22%, all of Nottoway, well, except for the western end, and they're less. 22% worst case scenario for 3/4 of an inch. So keep that in mind, everyone. We're now back down to around a half inch, and we have a 55% chance in most of Nottoway for that.
But a half inch is, the 1998 ice storm was around a quarter. The 2021 storm was about 3/4 of an inch, 1 inch in some places. This, I don't want to use the word catastrophe, but this could be very destructive. What you're describing, the 55% chance of a half inch, that's concerning.
Yeah, I still wouldn't take it lightly. Yeah,
Right.
I think any ease in the forecast is only just a small shift in maybe the precipitation type.
Right.
I still wouldn't take it lightly as far as the freezing rain. We'll know, unfortunately, we'll know as it's falling as to the consistency of what's coming out of the sky. But we are looking at that the ending of I've mentioned the onset being, and I can read this out to you really quick, the onset for all products. Again, in our area, in our region, for Nottoway is anywhere from 6 to 9 p.m. Tonight at the earliest, but definitely at midnight we'll start seeing more intensity. So you could start seeing some flakes around. Yeah, I'm going to say 9. I think 6 was a little early, but I'm don't hold me to that.
Sure.
6 to 9 on the map. 6 to 9 on the map for the first flakes to fly out of the sky, and then of course your ending time, and I know we're worried about the start time, but the ending time is still 6 a.m. Monday morning. So
that's a lot. If that last 12 hours is freezing drizzle, or the last 18 hours is freezing drizzle, or a mix of freezing rain and sleet, that's not going to be good.
That's correct. And I think everybody already knows from our updates that we've been putting out in Nottoway and everyone else too, that we are going to be having the frigid temps, following it. The difference in the 21 ice storm, which you mentioned earlier, we all worked at it. It was a warming. It was a slight warming afterwards, and this is a totally opposite. This is going to plummet
for several days. I mean, they're talking the first daytime high above freezing had been mentioned Wednesday, but even that's been revised. Let me ask you this: so we know now about the weather, as far as the obstacles that are going to be created by this storm. This is going to mean that perhaps fire trucks, emergency squad vehicles are not going to be able to rapidly arrive at scenes if roads are blocked. So it's really important that people stay inside and not do anything that gets them injured. Of course, natural health conditions can't be avoided, but there could be prolonged waits for help to arrive. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct, Billy. And what we did, and I mentioned this to the state in the report yesterday to them, we're running a what I call an EMS task force across the county, to where we have like a QRV, which is an SUV with 4-wheel drive capability, is running with each ambulance for Nottoway Emergency Squad. And then, of course, Burkeville has a 4-wheel drive ambulance, and they're also going to run a pickup as needed. And then we're also going to be able to tap the 2 UTVs we have in the county, one being Blackstone Fire, and then another one being owned by a member of the Burkeville Fire Department. So we have the UTVs on both ends of the county, if needed, to be able to bring someone out of a residence down a long driveway that we can't get up. So all of that was planned on like Monday or Tuesday. So kudos to them for getting all that together, and we all collaborated on that. So also fire trucks, they'll have their own policy about going out at the height of the storm, but they'll definitely make every effort to get where they're going in a quick manner. A lot of videos out there I saw this week, fire trucks sliding on ice, and there were more videos that people were putting up as humorous, but not humorous, folks.
No.
Those fire trucks will spin around just like a car.
Yep.
So we will be looking at that, and that's where Dan Martin and VDOT, TJ Shelton and crew, and all of the ones with the loaders and the sand trucks, that's where they're going to come into play, is come out and help dig our way through.
And that's something we didn't have to deal with in 2021 while the ice was horrific. The roads were passable other than trees, but as far as, you didn't have the component of, layers of ice or crushed down snow and sleet. And what sleet will do to snow is just pack it down and make a complete, even a four-wheel drive will have difficulty driving some of these roads, especially these back roads and unpaved roads. Um, so what I'm hearing from you is that VDOT, Nottoway Fire and EMS agencies are fully on board. I did receive an email from the Virginia National Guard that they're on standby at the Blackstone Armory, but they will only respond to VDEM requests. If there's a mission from Virginia Department of Emergency Management, they'll go. They're not going to go because Susie Brown's driveway has got a tree on it. Is that right?
Right. That is correct. Yeah, and that's where I come in. Normally, everything that's a state resource, I know it sounds crazy, but we know that anytime we need to have picket resources of that type, we have to request it back through the state. And it's just a process. Doesn't mean they can't come, but it's just we have to process it through Richmond. And I've been processing things through Richmond this morning. I will say they're doing a good job over there right now. They haven't been inundated yet. But, we've already ordered up all the bottled water, meals ready to eat. And, we have all of that ordered up, and they've been very receptive this morning. So that's who we would go through for that resource you just mentioned, Billy. You're exactly right.
Well, that's good. That's good to hear. Basically, another thing, Buddy, we didn't have to worry about in 2021 too badly. If people lose power out in the country or even in town, and pipes will start freezing in these temperatures, maybe as early as 48 hours. Is it true? This is a city boy talking here, but isn't it true that if you can leave your water run into a small stream, maybe regularly flush your toilets, you can prevent your lines from freezing if you have no power? Is that
That's correct? Yeah. Hey, we're all from the country here. Even when you live in a town, it does work. I've used it.
Okay.
You just have to make sure your trickle is substantial. And this will be very bitter, but we've seen these temperatures before. So anyone that's dealt with, winterizing your house, winterizing your RVs, all of those things, this will be no different in terms of the temperature. We've seen 20s before, and we've seen sub-zero before. I think that preparation is good. If you have to cut your water off, if you feel like you're not going to be there and you drain your lines,
right,
cut everything off, it should be fine. If you want to keep it running, keep it trickling. That does help.
Very good. Very good. Well, what is Buddy Hyde's greatest concern at this hour here at 1:48 p.m. on the East Coast on Saturday? We're hours away from the first precipitation. What is your biggest concern right now?
Well, biggest concern is accessibility in the power outage. And accessibility leads to the restoration of power outage. So if they can't get in, and, we've been talking to all of them, so that's our biggest concern. If we can open up these paths, and we do know, if everybody hasn't heard, VDOT is focusing on primary. And they've made that clear early in the week. So they're going to get to the secondary roads as soon as they can. But they will push for an emergency. If we have to go down there to put a fire out or pick up a patient, that is an exception. But you won't see them on the secondary roads any other time until the primaries are done. Biggest concern is just restoration time. We know it's going to be a while. Dominion has already given us a 24-48 minimum. I would probably err on the 48.
Right.
So you're looking at, we have restoration is not going to be 4 to 6 hours. You won't have any of that. So just be prepared for that. I think everybody's been given a heads up. And the other concern I have is being able to move as quickly as we want to move. We're in the business of moving fast, all of us, but this slows us down even in the best planning. One thing is, we're prepared to fully open shelters. It's getting the staff, getting all the staff in safely.
Right.
We have some pre-positioning, but, you got to have rotation. So, those are the things. It's just accessibility to get the workers that we need for everything, from the EOC to the shelters to the people that are working out here doing shift work, is being able to get them in here.
Absolutely. But basically, like you said, if, of course, only the good Lord knows, but based on the models you're seeing right now, with the amount of precipitation and potential freezing rain, it's possible the outages may not begin you may have an isolated tree here and there, but if we're going to have widespread outages, they may not begin till midday Sunday or Sunday afternoon. Would that be fair?
Well, that was a good point, and that was something I put, I think, on my Facebook post last night, and it still stands today. So everybody, I would say, and again, this is a movable target. But 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon is when Dominion mentioned in their call that power outages would begin.
Okay.
Or would start becoming an issue. And everybody knows that once you hear a few pop off and you see that blinking, that terrible blinking that we always see.
Yes.
And it goes twice, and we go, "Oops, it's going to come again."
Yep.
That'll probably be around 4, but that's the region. So Blackstone, Nottoway County could see it as early as 2.
Gotcha.
We could. That's a regional number.
Sure.
So, but they were very, very precise with that yesterday, and I like that about the call from Dominion. Knowing that, that your power outage at that point, you'll start losing. Your heat will start then cooling down by 6 p.m.
Well, that's good. And like you said, it could begin at 2 or begin at 3, but as far as they're expecting the widespread, oh, here we go. And again, as I said yesterday, people can't expect, okay, lights are out, not until the precipitation stops falling, or utility companies, whether they're from the town or Southside Electric or Dominion, going to go out and begin actively restoring power. But that'd be
they've got a lot of trucks in staging. They'll be ready to go quickly.
Good.
But the accessibility, I'm really impressed with the list that I got yesterday. I know that I think it was 10 bucket trucks that were Southside Electric had in one of their reports. 10 bucket trucks already staged, ready.
Right.
I think it was over 100 and some personnel on the first string. So, and I know Dominion's doing the same. So we know that they're ready. It's going to be accessibility.
And also, we learned a lot from 5 years ago, and I would imagine, I have no connections with Southside Electric, but I would tend to believe that they have probably been aggressively tree trimming as best they can. They got like 18,000 miles of line, or maybe more than that. But I think, there's probably right-of-ways are probably more open and clearer than they were 5 years ago, just generally speaking. Would you think that would be a fair statement?
Yeah, I agree. We've been talking about that all week. We believe, a lot of growth can happen in 5 years, but was large items that haven't grown back to the size they were in 21. So I think that, that plus the aggressive, I've been seeing a lot of the trimming trucks, the ones that have the booms with the saw on the end of them. I've seen a lot of those since 21.
Yeah.
So it hasn't been a gap in time, from cutting during the last ice storm.
And natural selection, Mother Nature's way, one thing about that ice storm is that the weakest, only the strongest survive. So the weak, susceptible limbs were gone 5 years ago. Of course, 5 years, a lot can grow back, but with proper maintenance, it could be less, fewer widespread outages, and maybe hopefully not as long as there were in 2021. 2021, because the ground was soft, I know trucks got stuck. This ground, I went out there and walked in the ground between 5 o'clock yesterday and 7 a.m. this morning. The ground is I would hate to be tackled on the grass today. It would be like concrete.
Well, it was frigid last night, and no doubt I didn't realize it was going to be quite as cold last night, but it was. Chainsaw wise, I want everybody to know, and I think this was in my report on Facebook. We're lucky to have VDOT. VDOT's going to be busy doing multiple things. We have forestry this year that jumped in. I think they've always been there to do this, but I'm looking at one day, actually, right here in Blackstone, looking at the forestry unit across the street. They're going to have pickup trucks, 4-wheel drive with chainsaws. I think it's the two foresters from Nottoway are specifically going to focus on Nottoway and helping us out. And then, of course, we have our fire departments. Everybody has chainsaws. Sure. So,
hey, Buddy, perhaps I'm sorry to cut you off, but perhaps the most important question I did not ask: the two shelters, Blackstone Primary and Brookville Elementary. Do we have any idea when they might open and for how long? Tell me what you know about that right now. The two shelters in Nottoway County.
I know it's a big question, and I've seen some Facebook comments and things. So they probably didn't know all the information. The Burkeville one is open at 6 p.m. The reason we're starting there, folks, first is that is the school we've seen in the news. It's now schools under the county's pretty much management. We have really no restrictions there in terms of using it for supply. And that's where we're putting a lot of the thousands of bottles of water and the thousands of meals that are coming.
Right.
Is we're going to be putting those there for staging. And then we're also going to be putting some in Blackstone. So, we want to start in Burkeville, and we want, because that one is the easier and quicker one to open up. It's going to be open at 6, and it is not closing in dark. It's staying open. So just so everybody know that it's not we're calling it a warming center, but it's going to be open. So
that's tonight at 6 o'clock.
Yeah, 6 o'clock. We have charging station. Again, we're not going into full designation of shelter until we see numbers,
right,
and we see impact. But the doors are open, and the heat is on, and the generator is working well, and charging stations are there. Anybody that needs somewhere to go, it's there for you. And we have Blackstone ready to go within 20 minutes if we need it.
And Buddy, what I'll do is you and I will text back and forth. I'll try to arrange another call, perhaps this time tomorrow, if you're available, just to give an update. It could be a change in the shelters. I know I encourage people to follow on Facebook, Nottoway County Emergency Services. That's Buddy Hyde's page he maintains for the county in his county role. So anything if there's any changes, you can look for it there. But I think people love hearing your voice, because you're on the ground, and we will try to get together and have better. I'm gonna try to get better technology tomorrow. Maybe we can do split screen, but this is I'm doing new things and juggling a bunch of things. We're trying to go to press 48 hours earlier, assuming a doomsday scenario. So anyway, you're busy, I'm busy, we're all busy, but you be safe out there, buddy, and we will talk to you again tomorrow. Okay.
I will. We'll be out here in the field, and then opening the EOC up at 6 o'clock as well. Same time that we open the warming center up in Burkeville. So a lot more news coming over there once we get all settled into that.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Buddy Hyde. Take care and be safe.
Thank you, Billy.
Yes, sir. Thank you, man. All righty. Bye-bye. Folks, that was Buddy Hyde, Nottoway County Emergency Services Coordinator. If you listen at the end, the Burkeville Elementary School will be open tonight at 6 o'clock as a warming center, but it's not going to shut down. But Buddy Hyde just went through the anticipated arrival of precipitation, the intensification. So I encourage you to go back and listen. I hope the audio was good. This is YouTube Live. We're going to be do more of this. I invite you, I implore you, I ask you respectfully to subscribe to this channel, because we'll be going live. You'll get notifications. We'll still post them on Facebook, but you can comment on YouTube, ask questions, and we just thank you so much for tuning in. We will be talking to Buddy Hyde again tomorrow. Thank you so much.